Nate Weeks, welcome to the Pre-Construction Podcast.
Glad to be here.
We are live from Advancing Pre-Construction 2026 here in Phoenix, Arizona. First guest, Nate. Nate, you're Director of Estimating at Jewett Construction. For context, tell us a little bit about Jewett.
Yep, so Jewett Construction is a commercial general contractor based out of Southern New Hampshire. We do work in the entire New England region, into upstate New York, not necessarily in the city, down into the mid-Atlantic and into Virginia. We've been around for 53 years, I believe, 54 years. Celebrated our 50th back in 2022. Owned by the second generation of the Jewetts currently, and it will eventually transition to third generation with Nick. He goes into it.
Love it. No pressure.
Yeah,
the third generation. Lovely. So folks, on today's podcast, we're going to be talking about quite a few topics. First of all, the increase in negotiable work, the increase in project planning, what it takes as Director of Estimating when it comes to planning, design and estimating, Nate's career growth, his passion for fitness and self-discipline, and how much of that he takes into his work. And of course, we're going to talk about pre-con technology and AI. So before we go, talk to us about your journey, Nate. The one thing when I look at your career so far is career progression has been quite steep. Give us an insight into why you think you've been so successful and any takeaways that maybe the audience can take.
Yeah, so I started this as sort of a second take in my career when I was about 27. I got hired as an assistant estimator by Jewett back in 2017. I had never done anything like it before, didn't really know what it was, but I figured, hey, why not give it a shot? Something about estimating just clicked, and I took on as much as I could. I had a great mentor in Greg Stewart. He's the president now, but he was the director of estimating at the time. He really taught me what to do and then gave me the reins once he was confident that I could take it on. From there, I just continued to gobble up as much work as I could, worked hand in hand with our design team, with our consultant partners, with my coworkers, and they helped me learn and grow. And again, I don't think it was anything other than just a natural inclination toward this kind of work and a work ethic. Appetite's huge. Yeah.
And now, don't get me wrong. Shout out to Greg Stewart. You need a good mentor, especially if you're coming in with not the background that most people would.
Yeah.
But within 9 years to be Director of Estimating, hell of an achievement. You said there the appetite to learn and knowledge. Was there any sort of learning or training, learning management system or training and development that you did throughout your career? Or was it very much just Greg, watching what Greg does and him mentoring you?
It was a lot of that at the start. I have a lot of internal drive, so I spent a lot of time listening to your podcast in the background, reading books, not necessarily about estimating and pre-construction, but just overall like business growth and personal growth, which made me want to do more and do better. So I would seek out ways and I would seek out situations in which that would challenge me. And when I succeeded with that, it would give me the confidence to move up to the next sort of thing, whether that was taking on the responsibilities of the department when my boss was out of town at a conference or attending to meetings, doing things that I wasn't necessarily comfortable doing. I really think it was not so much formal training as much as it was just a desire to learn more and do better.
And was there a lot of like learning on the job, learning from failures? I mean, I think when you think about the best estimators, that seems to be how they learn pretty quickly.
Yeah, you make tons of mistakes.
Yeah.
And the more mistakes you make, the more things you learn not to do. Yeah.
What was the most surprising thing for you? I mean, everybody looks at buildings, hospitals, data centers, light industrial projects, multifamily, whatever it is, and they go, wow, that is unbelievably complex. I would love to be able to do that. What surprised you the most when you stepped into that world?
Really how simple it is. If you break it down into individual components, I try to put the building together kind of in my head, and it was very daunting at first when I didn't know what any of this stuff was. I remember the first day someone told me to go look at some curtain wall, and I said, what exactly is curtain wall? So once I figured out what generally everything was, kind of breaking that apart, finding out how individual components work, it really just simplifies it. And then that just scales. It doesn't get any more complicated once you determine how the buildings go together. It just gets bigger. The numbers get bigger. The equipment gets bigger. There's more of everything, but it's all the same stuff. Yeah.
One thing I do get asked a lot is going from that estimator, senior estimator, pre-con manager up to director level. What's the biggest differences on your day-to-day now at that level?
I don't get to do the stuff that I used to love to do the most, which was actually conceptually budget projects and put together the puzzle that is an estimate. Whether it's an early conceptual stage, I call it shapes on paper, where a developer comes and says, here's a rectangle that's 700 by 500. How much is it going to cost in this location? Or it's a full-on estimate with a fully developed set of drawings. I really loved going in and pulling it apart and finding all the discrepancies in the drawings. And determining what the best value was for the client. So I don't get to do that anymore, which is a bummer, but it does mean I get to help my guys do that better than I ever did it. So it's been a shift mentally from not having any like personal wins, quote unquote, as a not an individual contributor. But I do get the opportunity to see our estimators grow and develop and do what I was doing before, and their wins become mine.
Yeah. Is there a kind of a hurdle there that you've got to get over of delegation and kind of a lack of control that you'd have been used to?
Yep. Yeah, it's a lot of sitting on my hands. So I have to, it's easier now. I've been in my position for 3.5, 4 years at this point. So it's easier now to say, hey, here's what I need. Here's my expectations, outline those very clearly, which helps a lot. Like actually sitting down with them and saying, here's the task. Here's what not to do. Trust me on that. Don't go down those roads, and laying out like, this is why we need to do it. What do you think is going to happen if you don't achieve these goals? And then giving them the reins to go do it and figure it out themselves. I think the autonomy of giving them the autonomy to do it helps me just sit back and know that they'll figure it out. Because it was the same thing, the same luxury that I was afforded when I was coming up.
And it'll be interesting when we get into the pre-con tech side of things, how you have utilized that in training and developing your own team. But before we do that, let's talk about planning, design, and estimating. We talked off air just now about the importance of planning and basically the demand for project planners in non-residential buildings at the moment over the last 2 or 3 years has really spiked. How important is planning when it comes to doing the projects that you do?
Oh, it's huge. In a lot of the world we live in, and especially spec industrial, it's flavored a lot with developers calling us and saying, hey, we're looking at this piece of land. How much building do you think we can fit on it? What's the optimum ratio of building to parking? What can we get away with? What are the allowed uses? So with us having a guy who's dedicated to it as the planning and development manager, he's got a background in civil engineering, and he can get in. He uses this program called Giraffe. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Giraffe?
Giraffe, yes.
Never heard of it. No.
It's basically a land use program, as far as I understand it. You plug in the plot of land that it's on, gives you the parcel, and then you can sort of maximize the building area, specify parking counts, what it needs, if it needs a 1 to 2, 1.25 to 1 ratio, whatever it is. So he'll go through and work with our developers before we even get into our estimating team. And he'll say, hey, listen, here's 2 concepts. One has 1 big building, one has 3 small buildings. And based on what we know about costs, we think it's more cost effective to do this, but you might have better luck finding tenants if you go with this path. And that's something that developers can do a lot of the time, but being able to raise our hand and say, hey, yeah, we got you, don't worry about it, it helps us sell a lot more work.
Brilliant.
Just by having that one person on board. And then they can help our clients too through the permitting and approvals process. Again, he knows a lot of the town officials. He knows how to work his way through the planning board and help us get projects approved.
Wow. So you're using it as a sales and business development tool?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, you'll hear me all the time shouting about the podcast is the most important people in business development are pre-construction professionals because of the value engineering and as you say, the value-added service that they give. How effective has that been on the planning side? Have you seen repeat clients off the back of that, new clients just off the back of having a good planning person?
Yep. Yeah, a lot of them come back because they like the experience, and maybe that one opportunity doesn't work out, but we'll spit out a few of these things and just as a favor, and then they do come through with an actual opportunity and say, hey, thank you for helping us with those other ones. It didn't work out, but here's a real one. And then that turns into an actual project.
The old free con is not free con.
Yeah.
You get paid in the end.
Loss leader. Yeah.
Very good. And then the design side and the estimating side, how important is the planning, not only at that stage, but then throughout the project to be able to foresee the planning and schedule and logistics of it all?
Yeah, so he helps us understand because our estimators are always focused on just overall management of the process and the cost first and foremost. We do have an in-house design team. That doesn't mean we only work with them, but we feed them as much as we can, and then we outsource the rest. And their entire focus is on producing the best quality drawings they possibly can. And the gap there is time, which is usually what's most important to the client, that and cost. So Doug fills in. Doug is our planning development guy. He fills in the gaps there by producing an informed pre-construction schedule early and keeping that up to date. That allows us to follow that to a T and say, okay, we expect DD drawings to hit then, CD drawings to hit here. Therefore, we can likely start construction on X date and have a superintendent lined up. So it helps with operational planning and overall pre-construction planning for contract dates and overall workload for the estimating team. So,
and then obviously the estimating team use that as well with their costs in mind as well, and able to get it more focused. And just on the planning side before, I know we use Giraffe for the parcel of land, but throughout construction, do you use P6 or is that what you?
No, we don't.
Okay, cool. Do you know, what do you use?
I'm actually not familiar with that. We use, what is P6?
It's like
can we start there?
Planning, scheduling.
Oh, no, we just use just project.
Yeah,
just basic project.
That's perfect. Yeah. I just thinking, man, we talked off air as well. P6 is creeping into it's used a lot in infrastructure, oil and gas projects, but it's creeping into non-residential now. The demand for mid to large clients that are doing 500 million a year, it's just becoming more apparent. And again, it's all to do with plan and schedule.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's an interesting one. Now, that kind of leads me into tech. Talk to me about your tech stack.
Yes.
When it comes to pre-con.
So I mentioned Giraffe. In pre-construction, we adopted Builder a handful of years ago. We came out here and learned a lot about it. And one of my biggest things as director was trying to track everything because everyone had their own notebook with all of their own assignments. And that's good, but I can't see your notebook. And I don't know how many things are you tracking? Are you working on stuff on the side? How are we tracking these leads from start to finish? How long does it take generally for a lead to progress from a lead to an actual opportunity and then convert that into a sale? We weren't really collecting any of that. And I was having a very difficult time figuring out who was doing what and when that was due to then figure out how much more work we can take on to hit our financial goals. So Builder's allowed us to do that. It's given us a lot of insight into historic data. Just the cost model tool has been good. Not that this is a pitch necessarily for Builder, but it's filled a gap that we had. We use HubSpot as a CRM. We use Building Connected for bid solicitation, Procore for more operationally, but we use it for drawing and RFI, all the stuff that pre-construction uses it for. Outside of that, we use Excel for all of our estimating functions, and that is about it, outside of like Bluebeam and your standard stuff. Yeah.
And where do you see, obviously we're at advanced and pre-construction, the whole is full of tech solutions, either single point or like trying to cover or solve a load of problems. Where do you see the biggest kind of market that you would like to plug in? Like if you were here now and you said, right, I would love bid leveling, for instance, I would love something just to solve that problem for me. Where do you see the biggest gap?
Yeah, I feel like there's a tool for everything, but there's no tool that does all of those things competently, and that's the biggest problem. So for me at least, because like I said, we have Builder, we have HubSpot, we use Building Connected, we use Procore, and there's an overlap in that Venn diagram, but it's not that much. So you end up paying for all these different services. Bid leveling would be helpful if we could figure out a way to streamline that process. We just had a situation last week where one of our estimators was out of town. We were shorthanded and a bid was due because the due date got pushed and I had to take it on. And it was an effort to get that out in time. Basically, I had 36 hours to go from bids collected to bid presentation with the developer. So if there had been something that could have taken some of that workload off of my plate so I could have focused on the other things, it wouldn't have been quite so hectic. And I think that all the other estimators would say the same thing. Yeah. Because a lot of it's just data entry, right? We field bids through email. It's a PDF. We have to save that on the H drive. We have to put that into our estimating template, fill out all the information, print it, put it in a book. I guess that's an extraneous step that we don't need. If there was something we could dump all of those bids into to populate what we already do, that would save hours.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, I've already been around all the tech companies or the pre-con techs, and there's a lot of new bid leveling tools there.
Yep.
So obviously everyone sees that, and
Yeah.
the tech companies are going after it. So hopefully they come up with some. I've actually got a few of them coming on the podcast. So
Okay.
be interesting to see what their solutions are like.
keep an eye out.
The couple of ones I want to talk about, building connected. How are you coming along with that? There's been a lot of in the pre-con first community. There's been a lot of people concerned about building connected since the acquisition, but also the cost and the alternatives.
Yeah.
How do you find it working with it?
It's been good. Before we had Building Connected, we used, I think it was I Square Foot, which was honestly a nightmare. Sorry if anyone's listening who's affiliated with I Square Foot.
Yeah.
It was just difficult. It was
Yeah.
clunky. So Building Connected was a game changer. It was brought to us by a guy who came from Whiting Turner, and he used it there. So that was a nice addition. I think if there was a different alternative that was, I guess, more cost effective and could achieve the same results, really what we like about it is the ability, the open network that it has, where people can come in and say, we do this work in this area, and we might not know about them, but then we can find them. Versus Procore's model, or I guess Builder has the tool too. You have to maintain a database, your own database, and keep all that information up to date. And then you can only pull from that. So you have to physically go out and look for new subcontractors, get their info and put it into that system rather than just finding them on Building Connected. So yeah, I don't know, it works. I don't have any major complaints about it, but yeah, cost-wise, it has gone up.
Good.
Yeah.
No, listen, and that's just the beast that we're in. Once they get acquired, and the development as well. It'll be interesting to see what they do development wise, make it better, or are they just going to just plug it into what they do already and offer it as part of that. And then talk to me about estimating. Obviously, estimating is a big part of it. Would you look into an estimating tool, or has any kind of tools caught your eye?
Nothing has caught my eye. I have looked around. I'm not opposed to other solutions outside of Excel, but we've built an Excel template over the years that is robust enough. It gets done what we need it to do. What would be nice is if there was something that was linked into an overall database, which might exist. To be honest, I haven't looked at it all that much because what we have works.
Yeah.
And if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Absolutely.
But if there was a solution that presented itself that could pull all of the information we have together, like you feed the bids in, and it then is dumped into the template of whatever the template is. If it's a program online, some sort of software, or if it's somehow linked into Excel via Google Sheets or something, I don't know how it works. That would certainly save time, and I'd be into it. Really, the data entry is what kills me. I don't mind so much. Writing scope is good. I like the flexibility that Excel provides, where you can go in and you can craft it exactly how you want. Everyone writes it differently because their brains, they don't all work the same. Scopes I wrote when I was doing it are not the same as what the other guys do. So I like them having the freedom to do what makes sense to them and not be kind of boxed in and say, you can only write these things in this one spot. Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest problem with off-the-shelf solutions.
Yeah.
Is they think that everybody does estimate and pre-construction the same way.
Right.
And it is so far from the truth.
Fluid. Yeah.
It's completely fluid, and people think differently. And even internally, even in your team, people will run through estimates very different to other people.
Yeah.
So off the box is really difficult unless it's highly customizable.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. So if anyone's working on it, give me a shout out.
Yeah, good luck with that one. Brilliant. Another thing that obviously is becoming director is the training and development of younger staff or your
Yep.
team. Obviously, you've gone through it recently. You're only a young guy, mid-30s, director level. Is there anything that you've learned from your time doing that you now have found really helpful in learning and training and developing your younger members of staff?
Yeah, I think when I first started, I had to learn how to set expectations clearly. I talked about that before. I can't stress enough how important that is, to not give someone a task, whatever that task is, or say, hey, you're new, you're an estimator now, go do this. And like just explaining to them, you say, hey, yeah, this is how you estimate, here's the point, but then walking away. And then if they fail, they come back to you and you say, why did you fail? What happened there? Why didn't you do it what I expected you to do? And their answer is, you never told me what you wanted. You just said what you were like, go do this.
Yeah.
So expectation setting was huge. Having empathy for where they're at. Everyone has good days, bad days. Some people don't understand things as clearly as you might. And alternatively, some people might understand things much better than you do. And you have to be open to asking questions, admitting that you don't know what this is, admitting your own mistakes. knowing when you're wrong and asking questions of them. So yeah, I think it's just opening yourself up to the people who work for you, who you're managing, who you are leading and guiding, because ultimately your goal is to make them better at what you did than you ever were, so that they can take your job.
Yeah, there's a lot of satisfaction in that, isn't there? When
Yeah.
you think about it, when you see people really flourish under your management.
Yeah, no, there's nothing more fulfilling than seeing someone come up and grow. We've got a young estimator here who started in the field. He was an assistant super for a few years. He had a similar background to me. He was just sort of doing things. He went to college in Boston, played hockey, and then was landscaping, doing whatever. And we hired him on as an assistant super for a couple of years, and he liked it, but he wanted something more. And I think he knew he had more in him. So we brought him in, and he worked with one of our senior guys for like a year, just hand in hand. He was glued to his hip. He did everything. He made coverage calls. He wrote scopes. He learned the ropes, learned how to do it. And then we set him loose on his own late last year, I think. And he's just taken off like a rocket.
Love it.
So it's great to see someone who you bring in, you teach, and then they figure it out. Something clicks, and then they just start going off on their own. And you can say, okay, cool. You've got a success.
You found a young Nate Weeks.
I guess. He's a lot taller than me. Probably better looking, but yeah.
Very good. No, and that's what, like, it kind of goes back to your background. I mean, maybe people do know, or if they haven't, follow you on LinkedIn. I highly recommend it. But you've got a massive passion for personal development and fitness. We see that in my line of work. Like, when I see someone that takes that time and dedication to keep themselves right, whether it be physically, mentally, and then is competitive as well at the same time. Do you subconsciously look for people with similar mindsets?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like I said, Colin, the guy I just mentioned, he was a hockey player at Northeastern University in Boston. We've got a rugby player. We've got another guy who was an athlete in high school and college. I wasn't a big organized sports guy, but I challenged myself in my own way. So there's a lot to be said about someone who does difficult things on purpose.
Yeah. It's an interesting one there, because there's advantages to being part of a team, and you need to understand that, because at the end of the day, estimating and pre-construction is all about collaboration and team.
Yeah.
But then individual sports, people with a really, really good mindset, they can add a lot of value as well.
Yeah.
And that diversity really helps.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing I've gotten out of my pursuits, my extracurriculars, is just knowing what hard is, what difficult feels like, and that you always get through it, right? There's been many, many days I've been out in the woods, in the mountains in the winter, in the middle of the night, and the entire goal has just been to get back to the car at the end of the trail, whatever it is that we're doing, because like it's going to end. We're not going to be doing this forever. It's not like we're going to live in this one spot for the rest of our lives. So just knowing like, hey, I have done this thing that was awful at the time. I wanted nothing more than to stop walking and lay down and go to sleep. But I kept going, and we did get back to where we needed to be, and then it was over. And once it's done, it's like it never happened. Yeah, all that pain goes.
It's like estimating.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
It's hard, and then it's not. Yeah.
Then it's relief, and then you're on to the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
And just before we go, I mean, there's obviously a lot of talk at the conference about AI.
Yep.
What's Jewett's kind of philosophy, governance around AI? What's the, and particularly within pre-construction?
Yep. So we use it primarily as a work aid. I think that's its best use right now. Yeah. I'm not expecting it to recreate the things that we do. I struggle with the non-determinative nature of the answers that it provides, where I was talking about this to my friend the other day, where you can ask AI, what is 3 plus 3? And 90 times it's going to say 6. And then 8 times it's going to say 9. And then some other time it's going to say something completely strange like potatoes, because it all works on word association. It's not doing math. Yeah. All it's doing is reading the words that you put into it and associating that with information it finds written on the internet somewhere. So yes, it's correct. But if you just feed in and say, hey, how much is X type of building in this location, cost per square foot, it'll pull some information, and it might be correct, but there's also a chance it's not. So you have to figure out how to engineer your questions to get the result that you need that is correct. So it's a lot of back testing, double checking with AI. And I think we're still learning how to do that appropriately. So more so now it's a work aid with research, learning new things. If you're short on time, like it's great for that, because it saves you scrolling endlessly through Google and clicking through Google Images and trying to find out what a detail for a pile cap is, what have you. So I think it's been helpful. We haven't committed to it fully. I'm interested to see where it goes.
Yeah.
And we're not opposed to it. It just, we haven't dived in first. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a guy coming on the podcast later who's heavy on it, cloud coworker, and he has done a like construction workflow of where he uses it, how he uses it.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to see how that works.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been looking into it more and more. As you can imagine, we are pretty busy.
Yeah.
So it's tough to find the time to put aside the other work and dive in, especially with all my other hobbies. But we'll get there.
And that's it. And that's why this conference is incredible, because
Yeah.
you can actually talk to people and they can give you real life examples and success stories of where it works and possible failures as well. So it cuts the time. It's like the pre-construction first community. It just cuts the time of everybody repeating the same things,
Yes.
getting the same answers. Well, Nate, this has been really insightful. I really appreciate it. If there is anybody listening to the podcast now and they say, you know what, I would love a follow-up call or conversation with Nate,
Yep.
where's the best place to get in contact?
I would find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, perfect. And as always, folks, I will put Nate Weeks' LinkedIn profile below, and I'll also put Jewett's URL as well so people can get you.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Good to meet you.